Radiology School and you want to know what questions are going to get me into the program, you have come to the right place. So let me draw you in a little closer. If I can, I'll come a little closer. I am Sean, a radiology technologist for over 20 years, and I am here to tell you what questions I've heard that possibly can help you. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you're interviewing for a radiology technology program, I want to want to walk you through the actual things that they're going to look for. Maybe these are not the questions that they're going to ask, but this is what they're going to look for. So I got them written down, so you're going to see me over here glancing over. But I want you to take away from this not thinking you have to memorize the script, because there is no script, y'all. It's been a long time since I interviewed for a program, but what I want you to understand is radiologic technology programs are looking for this one little thing from you. And it's not for you to memorize or to come in there with what you learned off social media, but I'm going to give you some tricks that I feel like as a program director, they would be looking for this, interviewing students for radiology programs. So get your notepad, pen and paper. We're going to get 5 common things that you may be asked, most likely, but this is how I want you to answer them. So let's see. Let's start with number 1. I don't want you, when you get asked these questions for a radiology program, to be overly excited, which I know you are, because it is a great thing that you got accepted into a program. That is going to make you so excited that you might overshare. You might freeze up because it's like, I got this one chance to answer these questions. I want to be able to get in. This is going to be my only option. So number 1, why do you want to become a radiology technologist? That is what most likely they're going to ask you. So how do you answer that question? I want you to make sure that you avoid saying things like, I want to help people. I want to be able to help doctors diagnose. That everybody says that. So I want you to be able to give a more natural answer. So this is what I came up with. I want you to frame it a little better to where you're saying something about the patient care aspect of technical responsibilities. And the way you're going to kind of frame this is, if they ask you, why do you want to become a radiology technologist? You're going to talk about the patient care side. Maybe a story that you have that you were a patient. So I'm going to give you an example. When I was a young child, I actually got some radiology exams done. Maybe you have too. I would bring that aspect in, which was something that I did. And it was a true story. I didn't make it up. I didn't have to memorize it because it actually was my story. This is where you're going to come off very authentic and genuine and not fake, not rehearsed. And you won't worry about freezing up if you tell your story. So I told my story about getting imaging studies done as a kid and how scared I was, but how great the technologists were and how they helped me get through it. Like, I think that got me some points. Maybe not brownie points, but actual points to get into the program, because I told my real story. And it evolved around patient care, which is going to be a winner with imaging directors when they're looking for students that they want to get on their program's list. They're not just looking for somebody with some, I watch ER, I watch The Pit, I watch Chicago Med. No. Tell your story. Maybe you have a child that had to get a barium swallow. Maybe you had a parent. Hello, thank you, Elaine, welcome. Maybe you had a parent. You have a question. Someone has a question. So we're asking, I'm gonna give you 5 interview questions that you may be asked if you're looking to go to school for radiology technology. If you want to ask a question, you can. I'm going to get to them, the ones that match the topic and are not off topic. So let's just try to keep them on topic. Sometimes people go really left, but we're talking about radiology here. So let's keep it on those lines, please. But what I want you to do is also talk about the technical aspect of it. Maybe what you didn't know when you actually got your imaging exam, of how the technical part of it is really cool. Maybe don't say something like, I like working on machines. No. We don't work on machines, so don't answer it that way. But talk about maybe the technical aspect and bring in more of the STEM part of it. People don't really equate radiology technology with STEM programs. I want you guys to think very highly of the profession that you're getting ready to enter, right? So when you talk about the technical aspect, we don't fix machines. We work with machines to help get the quality imaging that we need to get. So maybe brush up on your skills, maybe ask questions about how does x-ray work when it comes to the actual imaging, the machine, the technical part, and maybe throw a little bit of that in there answering the question. Also, making sure you're accurate. Like I said, do your research, tell your story. You cannot go wrong telling your story. I mean, you were there, you know the truth, you know what the barium tastes like, you know what the IV contrast felt like, you know what it felt like to have to roll to get that lumbar spine, or when you had that broken foot, how gentle they were, how they actually maneuvered you and used radiation protection. I mean, you know the story. So you tell your story at these radiology school interviews. And the third part of it, make sure that you understand when it comes to them asking you, why do you want to be a radiology technologist? Understand that, and this is why I say this, be clear that you understand that this is a physical, emotional, and detailed heavy job. Thank you for the likes and thank you for the questions. I'm going to get to it in a second. Make sure you are clear when you answer that, because I say that because how many times have you guys seen people come on social media and say, radiologic technology is a better option than going for nursing because nursing will wear you out, or nursing is too hard, you should go to radiology instead. You deal with less patients. Let me tell you, I have been doing this over 20 years, and I just had a situation that really took me a few days to get over with the patient. We don't just scan patients and they leave. Anybody that tells you that, I mean, it's just not the case. I don't do my job and just send my patients on. There are cases, yeah, you might not remember, that weren't that heavy, but I worked in the cancer center for many years. And I'm going to tell you, I've gone to patients' funerals. I have gone to patients' weddings. I've been invited to housewarmings and baby showers. So if we were in a profession that just scanned people and they left and we just don't even know our patients, that wouldn't be true. I know my patients. Like, my patients will come every 6 months. Even now, I get patients who have MS that come all the time to get brain scans, MRI scans. I know them. So that part of it, being clear that you understand, we do not just sit there and drink out of our Stanley cups. No, we don't. We are moving patients. We are responsible for putting in IVs. It is mentally taxing. We work long shifts. We work call. We work weekends. We travel. Like, you understand the physical, mental, and detail orientation of our profession. So make sure you're going with that. Now I'm going to get to a question here. If a computer can make radio waves, why is it not as strong as a microwave if they basically are used the same sort of something? So good question. It's radio waves, but we control the amount of radio waves. Just like you control on a microwave how much you warm up a potato versus bacon, right? Or vegetables versus cooking a potato in a microwave, a frozen dinner. You're going to use certain amounts of power. You're just not going to press start and turn it on in the same power, the same time, heats up that potato just like it does vegetables. I hope that makes sense. So when we work in medical imaging, and the radio waves is only talking to MRI. The other modalities don't use radio waves. So when you're talking about sound waves, that's ultrasound. You have to have a certain amount of pressure in your wrist and hand when you come to ultrasound techs. They just can't zap them up, with the sound waves. They have to get through and press a little deeper. That's why they have a lot of wrist problems. I'm gonna tell you, this profession is so detail oriented. And that is how I want you guys to answer that question. Now let's get on to question 2, because we're going to keep this, we're already at 9 minutes. I wanted to do this in 8. So we're going to keep this short and sweet because I want y'all to get the answers. What do you know about this program? Always, always, always go into the interview for radiology technology programs prepared. Remember, you're applying to multiple programs and not every program is the same. So what I want you to do, you do not need to impress them. But you need to show respect for the time, because y'all, it's a lot of people out there on the wait list looking to get your spot, looking to get into that program. And what you want to mention is the clinical structure, the reputation, the expectations, why it fits you. Like, remember I talked about telling your story? Go back to telling your story. Why is school A perfect fit for me? I'm gonna tell you, be very clear on that. These are all the win moments of why this school is perfect. This is the expectation I get from going to this school. This school has such a reputation of putting out some of the best technical students and some of the brightest didactic students. I hear you guys pass 100% on your ARRT. Welcome if you are joining this live. I'm answering 5 questions that you as a radiology technology student need to ask on your radiology school interview, because this is what they're looking for. Now, these are not verbatim, but I'm pretty sure they're going to ask this in some form or fashion. Question 3, how do you handle stress or pressure? Again, you're not sitting in radiology just swirling your Stanley Cup around, sipping on drinks, kick back, listening to elevator music. No, you are working, y'all. You're working. So you're going to be stressed. That's life. But what I want you to do is put aside all the TikToks, all the videos, all the shorts, all the reels that tell you, oh my goodness, I am so burned out. You know what? Life burns you out. When you're interviewing for that program, you do not talk about that. What I want you to talk about is that you recognize healthcare, there's a non-negotiable when it comes to stress and pressure in healthcare. I don't care if you work in a small town hospital or a trauma hospital. There is stress and pressure, even in imaging. Now, you want to go in there very well aware and let them know that you are well aware, because I'm going to tell you the amount of people that get into programs and say, radiology programs, and say, oh my goodness, I got out because I didn't know it was that stressful. I thought I was going to be sitting back drinking on a Stanley Cup. Yeah, no. We get the pressure too, you guys. So what I want you to say instead, you are aware. I'm aware that there is stress and pressure. You don't have to say exactly like that, but word it up how you want. But just make it very clear that you're coming into the program knowing that this is not a cakewalk. You do not expect it to be a cakewalk. You understand the pressure that comes with working in healthcare, the stress that comes with working in healthcare. Now, what I want you to do is, after that, I want you to show how you cope in life. Because, like I said, life has stress and pressure. I mean, if you don't tell me how you living without stress and pressure in your life, I just need to know. Pass it on. But what I would say is, now you pivot over to the solution. You show, this is how I manage stress. I love hiking. I take my dog on a walk. After work, you know what I do? I go to the nature park and I walk around, let little Zippy zip all around, and I watch them, or I let the kids slide down the slide, or I go in the backyard and play toss with my child. Or I sit on the couch and I get me a little something to drink. Have fun, tell your story. This is how you are going to ace these interviews, y'all. I'm telling you. And be accountable. Be accountable. Say, I manage stress by staying organized, asking questions early. I'd rather clarify than make assumptions. That is how you handle the pressure, because you're going to be in situations, even as a radiology technology student, not just a technologist, to where you are under pressure to make a decision. That decision could cost you your health, your job. It could cost the patient their health. It can be really bad, or it can be really good. And the other thing is, I don't get somewhere on time. On time is late. This shows something. If you were asked to be somewhere at 1 o'clock, what time do you get there? Now, if you're telling this story, I would let them know, I like to arrive early. That tells something about you. Now, if you said, you got to live up to it. If once you get in school, you're always late, that's a problem. So remember what you say on these interviews. Make them truthful because they do remember. Number 4, question. Tell me about a challenge you've overcome. Now, they ask you this on job interviews, so you should be very familiar with this if you've had a job before. What they want is growth, not perfection, y'all. They're not judging the problem, that's your problem. They're listening for reflection. They want to hear what you say. This is a reflective question. They want to know how you overcame the challenge. Now, they're not telling you what the challenge is. You're telling them what the challenge was, how you overcame it. The situation, what you learned, how it changed you. It could be anything. It does not have to be anything in healthcare. It could be that time your child came in and said this, or that time your mom or dad got sick and you had to do this, do that, whatever. I'm just throwing spaghetti against the wall here, just making up stuff, but you get the point. Whatever challenge you face, maybe your tire went flat and you had somewhere to be. Oh, welcome from Nigeria, Daniel. Thank you. I look forward to you becoming a rad tech. Let us know when you do. These are questions that you may be asked when you apply to a radiology technology program and they interview you. So hopefully you guys let me know, have you thought about either one of these questions? How would you answer it? Yes or no? Are these good questions? Let me know. Now, number 5, we have hit the final question. They're going to ask you. I'm going to tell you. They're going to ask you this. Now, I guarantee you're going to get asked this question. Do you have a question for us? Do you have a question for us? What do you guys think you should say? What do you think you should say? Because what you shouldn't say is, nope, I'm good. You answered everything I had. I don't have any questions. No, you come there with a paper, a tablet, whatever you take notes on, full of questions. Something, at least 5 questions. And I want you to ask at least 3 of them. I don't care if they answered it kind of in the interview. Say they answered, even if you got to ask, what kind of pass rate do your students have from this program? Like, I'm telling you, ask some good questions that really make the program director say, this person's done their research. This person really wants to know about this program and how it's going to benefit them. Now, you can also say something like, what makes a student successful in this program? That's a good one. What do y'all think about it? I think that is a good one. That's what the young people, Gen Zs, do this. My niece did this to me the other day. So if you're a student, what makes a student successful in this program? That is, I think that should be a top one. LOL. I tell you, the kids, they teach you all kind of, I don't know. She was doing it to me. I'm like, what are you doing? Alligator or something? I don't know what you're doing. But anyway, second one is, what do students struggle with most in their first year in this program? That is a really good one. I think that's great because the program has data that would tell you, hey, this is what our students struggle on. And if that's something you're like, wait a second, they struggle to pass the ARRT, I don't know if I want to do this program. Yeah, like these are questions. These are good questions. I want you guys to think of good questions, not just how long is the break? How long do I get for a break? Don't ask those questions. Do we ever get out early? Don't ask those questions. Leave those to your imagination. Thirdly, I would say, how do clinical instructors, this is good. How do clinical instructors support students who are learning under pressure? Because you see in all the groups out there, the radiology groups, people saying, oh, the clinical instructors are mean, they're not helpful, oh, the techs are so mean. This is a question you should be asking. How do clinical instructors support students who are learning under pressure? The stress and pressure we already talked about. So how do the clinical instructors support that? I hope you guys took notes. If you're interviewing for a radiology program, remember this. They're not looking for perfect answers. They're not looking for perfect students. They're looking for someone who's teachable, prepared, and honest. Teachable, prepared, and honest. So what worries you more about your Radiologic Technology School interview? Saying too little or saying too much? I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you want to watch any of the videos about radiology careers and radiology school, check out one of my videos here and be sure to subscribe to my podcast, A Couple of Rad Techs Podcasts. Toodles.